This is not normal. Having an earlier onset of menarche is not normal.
It kind of breaks my heart a little bit.
The next phase of life, but you're not a woman yet.
They're actually still children who
Right.
happen to be on their period.
We hide
Yeah.
that we're on our cycle, like do anything to make sure nobody knows. It's like, why is it this big?
Like the boogeyman or something like what?
Right, right.
Yeah.
I want to liberate women to talk about their periods freely, not hide that they're on their period.
Just try
Right.
to stay away from the chemicals as much as possible, especially those chemicals that are seeping into your scalp.
To this because it's something that affects their life expectancy. You're
Yeah.
exhausted.
Your energy is wiped out. Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely. When we get into the nutrition lanes, I love it.
that over the reproductive years of a woman and add that up, you're talking about thousands of dollars. Look at me. Look at me. Aren't you proud of me bringing this up?
I am. I am. That is a wonderful idea. Sign me up. I will sign the petition for that.
Y'all happy to be here? Ain't y'all happy to be here?
Right?
Okay. You could
Right?
not be here without a woman. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and share. And as always, don't forget to click subscribe. So one of the things that is gaining a lot of more conversation and concern is the
Mm-hmm.
fact that there are studies out there that are showing that our girls are having their menstrual cycles earlier. And the concern is that when you look at the cycle of girls for the last few decades, there's been a shift to a much earlier onset of a menstrual cycle. Now, normally, the normal onset of a menstrual cycle is about age 12. And
Mm-hmm.
so even just a shift to 1.5 years earlier can really make a huge difference in the experience of our adolescent girls and also in terms of their long-term care. But even before we get into that part of it all, there's
Mm-hmm.
a conversation that we really need to have when it comes to menstrual cycle. And that conversation is the onset of the menstrual cycle and the labeling of it being correlated with womanhood. And that's a conversation that I think have left a lot of girls confused about their sexuality, about their so-called womanhood, and still trying to have some experiences of being an adolescent. So, Shannon, I am so excited to have you back to have this conversation. What are your thoughts about the correlation or the labeling of the onset of a girl's menstrual cycle with being somehow the definition of her entering womanhood?
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Taska, for having me. I'm happy to be back here on the Healthy Bump Club show.
Love it, love it.
Um, it's tough because on one hand, I feel like it's definitely something to be celebrated. And
I
then
like
of
that.
course, yeah, and then of course you want you want the young girl to feel excited about it. You don't want her to have this feeling of dread and oh no, I'm bleeding now. It's embarrassing or all these negative emotions wrapped up into it. So it's like I want to say it's like a maybe like a juxtaposition, if you will, because
Mm-hmm.
on one side you want to be excited about it, you want her to be excited about it, and it's not necessarily that you're becoming a woman. It's you have a lot more years to actually become a woman. Um, and then on the other side of it are some of the negatives. Like there's associations with being over sexualized too early. When you do have your early onset of your first period, also known as your menarche. And also, I know that there's also association with eating disorders for some girls who have their periods earlier. Um, there's also the
Yeah.
embarrassment, the socialization aspect of it. Maybe there's other girls who are in their class or their peers who don't have their period yet. And then,
Mm-hmm.
they feel like some type of like an outsider or strange or why is this happening to me and not the other girls?
Right. That's a really good point because if you are the exception, then you're the first person to have that experience in your group, in your school
Mhm.
class, and that can really make someone feel uncomfortable, especially if they have any type of menstrual related disorders.
Right, right,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's a really, really good point. I think one thing we have definitely have to have a conversation about is the fact that we don't really have a definition of womanhood.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, I think the default has been that when you're able to conceive that somehow that is the start of womanhood or has been
Right.
confused to be the start of womanhood. But to your point, there's so many other things that you have to learn about life, your body,
Yeah,
your self-esteem,
right.
before you can be considered a woman. And that goes on both sides. So it goes from the perspective of the girl that the adolescence that's experiencing this rapid change in her body, because it's also not even a gradual onset of these
Right.
changes, but if they're experiencing it earlier, it's a more rapid evolution of their body, which comes with the development of breasts, the changing of their body shape, and the unwanted attention that sometimes comes from that, depending on their social environment.
Hmm.
And on the opposite side, also the oftentimes lack of education of our young boys with
Yes.
understanding what that experience is like. Now, granted, they're going through their own transition with the body odor and all the other thing that comes with
Right.
puberty or
Yeah.
the adolescent phase from from the boys' perspective. But I think because there is such an over sexualization, especially of our Black girls, and also of our Latina girls, that it almost it's almost like a bright light on them when
Yeah.
they start to go through these changes. And not everyone gets the same type of parental guidance. Not
Hmm.
every household feel comfortable having these discussions. Not every school provides the education. And so sometimes, depending on the environment, depending on the social, the geography, depending on the household, there may not be good guidance to really maneuver through the emotions that come with it,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
having your cycle means that there are physiological changes happening, hormonal changes that are happening that are
Right.
completely new. I mean,
Yeah.
if older women have such difficulty going through the hormonal changes that come with pregnancy and then that come with
Hmm.
menopause,
Hmm.
how much more so is it really such an unknown, a scary experience potentially? And it's not meant to be, but if you don't have the support and the information possible, it can feel like a scary experience for an adolescent.
And also too, for the girls who are getting their period and they happen to now be coming into maybe a larger body, that's more developed with maybe, larger breasts, or
Hmm.
larger hips, for example, um, they can, face challenges just wanting to fit into certain clothes, for example. Like, maybe now all of a sudden they have to go into the women's section.
That is so true.
Yeah, and so that's a huge psychological burden for any child, male or female, that, wait, what happened to my cute little children clothes with the little, characters on the front? And now I'm
Hmm.
shopping in, the ladies, the women's section, and I'm only, I don't know, 11 years old. That's
Yeah,
yeah, and that
a
can
much
also
more
be
mature.
embarrassing for them too, and
Right, right.
confusing. Yeah.
Yes, 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 because it almost makes you feel like, does everyone know that I started my period?
Right. Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
and not to mention the unfortunate, because when you're starting your cycle, there's so much more to learn. Your menstrual cycle, especially in the first 1 to 2 years, can be very
Yes.
irregular, very erratic, and very unexpected. So there's no real consistent pattern, and that's a
Hmm.
normal.
Hmm.
And so that's often the times where people start to have accidents with their cycles, right?
Right. Right.
So the
Right.
staining of the clothes, the unexpected menstrual flow that you weren't prepared for, and really learning to deal with that experience. I can definitely say I've had that experience myself
You took
in my
you
younger
took the
years.
thought literally out of my mind because I was gonna wait till you finished your thought, And I was gonna say, as a grown woman, being like maybe day one or day two of my cycle, I'm like, can it please just come on the weekend so that I can be
Right.
home
Right.
and this heavy flow I can just be like lay down or whatever I need to
Right.
do. So some of the worst places to be on your cycle as a grown woman is at work or in the classroom or all the different places you have to be. So imagine being a child and like you said, your period is unpredictable. And you know,
Right.
that's mortifying. Yes,
Yes, it
yeah.
is. I can literally tell you, I was in junior high school in
Yes.
my music class. I was wearing one of my favorite dresses was blue on the top and polka dot on the bottom. I've been a polka dot girl
Oh,
my entire life. And
okay.
literally, I was mortified.
Of
I
course. Of
stood up.
course.
And so I can really identify with the young girls and having these
Hmm.
embarrassing experiences. And they
Yeah,
shouldn't be embarrassing, right? Because
they
it's a
shouldn't.
normal process. It's how we
Hmm.
all got here. But
Hmm.
it just seems like this secret that you don't want anyone to know that you're on
Yeah,
your cycle. Even as
yeah.
adults, we
Even as
hide the
adults, it's
fact that
true.
we hide
Yeah.
that we're on our cycle, like do anything to make sure
Hmm.
nobody knows I'm on my
Yeah.
cycle. And we it's like, why is it this big
Like the
secret?
boogeyman or something. Like what?
Right, right.
Yeah. Oh my
But we do
goodness.
so much. We're like, does anybody know? Can anybody tell them
Yeah.
on my cycle? Am I
Yeah,
moving
yeah.
right now? You
Right,
know,
right.
like you're
Yeah.
so self-conscious about your cycle that it's the best kept secret ever when it's
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
most normal process for
Yeah.
a girl, for a woman to experience. And I feel like we need to really normalize that and at the same time not correlated with womanhood, but really start to have better dialogue
Yeah.
with young girls that this is a transition into the next phase of life, but you're not a woman yet, right?
Hmm.
You still
Hmm.
have a lot to experience before you become womanhood. But maybe this is a time to have other important conversations like how to
Yes.
be safe, if you were to have, because now the hormones are different, right? And
Right.
so how talking about sex possibly, how to talk about responsibilities and things like that. But at the same time, and only having those conversations because unfortunately, they're going to have the exposure, they're going to have these
Hmm.
conversations in school, but at the same time, not equating the ability um to technically reproduce with womanhood. That's not
I
womanhood.
agree. I agree.
And I think it's
Yeah.
the same reason why we're having so many struggles with laws of the land
Hmm.
because they so visualize young girls who are able to get pregnant, who are pregnant as women, and they're not. They are girls who happen to be
Correct.
pregnant. And I think if we keep that perspective, then we would have more compassionate legal system to deal
Yeah.
with the unexpected teen pregnancy.
Hmm.
The other thing that I thought was interesting is the fact that not only is the onset of the menstrual cycle trending earlier,
Hmm.
but really asking the question as to why is this happening?
Yeah.
Why this is not normal. Having an earlier onset of menarche is not normal. And
Right.
while, yes, some people are questioning whether the obesity epidemic has an impact, and while obesity can alter your cycle and can cause an earlier onset, so far it doesn't seem to adequately explain why our menstrual cycles are starting earlier, disproportionately
Hmm.
affecting Black girls, Asian girls,
Hmm.
and girls of mixed races.
Yeah. So my thoughts are from the literature that I've come across is that, there are a multitude of factors as to why, certain girls get their periods earlier than others. There is research to show that it can be a combination of those factors. It could be maybe one or just one or two of those factors. Um, but from what I see, it's not necessarily just like, okay, boom, it's this one thing, you know.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, I think you've, seen that as well. So, but the factors that I've come across are, um, lower socioeconomic status,
Mm-hmm.
um, also higher exposures to stressors because of that lower socioeconomic status. Stressors, just like in adults, can affect our hormone levels in our bodies. So that, that cortisol is going to go up, all those different hormones that are we do need, but in excess can negatively impact us
Right.
biologically,
Or
right?
chronic exposure.
Chronic
Mm-hmm.
exposure, exactly. Genetics can definitely be a huge factor. So, for example, if a young girl gets her period and maybe her mom and her grandmother got their period early as well, she's more
Mm-hmm.
likely to get an early onset of her period too.
I will
Mhm.
definitely say this is Dr. T. This is not adequately proven yet, but this is my hypothesis. Okay.
Okay, okay.
I definitely do think that we have to, and now granted, there's going to be lots of pushback from companies, I'm sure, but I think we have to
Mhm.
look at these endocrine disruptors. I think we have to
Just getting
look
to that.
at all the toxins that are in our food, all the pesticides. Now the EPA just recently approved two other pesticides that have forever chemicals in them. So it's all these toxins in our water, in our air, in our food that kids are being exposed to. We had such healthier food quality.
For sure.
Even when I was growing up, and even then, there was already the onset of the junk food industry.
Yes.
And the junk food industry is so toxic and
Hmm.
has so much impact and is such an addiction for our young girls and our young boys. Those hot Eatos, I'm not going to say exactly the name, but those hot Eatos is tearing up people's stomachs,
It
even from
is. It
young. I
is.
have young
Yeah.
girls with gastritis issues because
Yeah.
they are chomping down those Eatos will mess you up. And so
Yeah.
it's like looking at not just our food, but also the beauty products have also been culprits of
Yes.
having these chemicals. What we put in our hair, we're learning so much about our black hair products, unfortunately.
Yes.
But
Yes.
how young are braids in our kids' hair, right? That synthetic
Hmm.
hair, for example, you will see the young girls and their
Hmm.
hair being braided with synthetic hair as
Yes.
young as early childhood, early school
Yeah.
age, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, if we're finding that these products are toxic, then over a longer period of time of toxicity, that's
Hmm.
going to have an impact on them, on their health. And we know
Hmm.
that they contain endocrine disruptors, endocrine
Yes.
meaning that they affect our hormones. And
Hmm.
so, if we're having this earlier onset of the activation of our reproductive access, then what is the outcome going to look like? What is the risk associated with having an earlier onset of a menstrual cycle? And there are actual physiological risk. There are actual complications or more adverse outcomes in individuals who have an
Hmm.
earlier onset of their menstrual cycle. So certain cancers are more common.
Hmm.
Cardiovascular health or cardiovascular disease is more common when you have an earlier onset. You're more likely to have miscarriages. This is something we don't even
Hmm.
talk about.
Right.
And premature death is also more common when you have an earlier onset. So it matters.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
matters that our girls are having earlier menarche, which means we need to pay attention to this because it's something that affects their life expectancy. And that's
Right.
something that we need to really have a conversation about. Not only is the early menarche having these outcomes or having adverse outcomes, but also they found that there's a longer time period to the regulation of the girl's cycle. So whereas
Hmm.
the 1 to 2 years is more common for girls to kind of have this erratic cycle, and that's because there's no consistency in the ovulatory process yet.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so they may not necessarily have a monthly cycle quite yet. And that's normal to go through that phase and that transition for 1 to 2 years. But they're finding that that length of time is also expanding and is also increasing in time. And the result of or the outcomes that are associated with that longer duration include metabolic dysfunction. Now, this is up
Hmm.
your alley. right? So,
Right.
having a longer time period of irregular cycles, of course, some of that group of girls may be some of our PCOS girls in that pocket
Hmm.
as well. But there's definitely a lower fertility rate monthly in that particular group and a higher risk for metabolic disease and a higher rate for all cause mortality. So
Right.
girls who have more irregular, a longer duration of irregular cycles are more likely to die by just any cause. So these
Wow.
are real issues that are impacting our communities disproportionately.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm so glad you brought up the endocrine disrupting chemicals because that's a huge one. So, they're found in so many different things. Like you said, the hair relaxers, for example, which is very popular and common in, certain ethnic communities, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Also in the BPA from the water bottles and, BPA found in different items that we use commonly, that can be endocrine disrupting as well.
Our
Um,
nonstick pans.
our nonstick pans, yes. Yes, so many different things. Not to fearmonger because that's
Right.
not what we're trying to
But
do,
to
but
raise awareness.
yeah, but to raise awareness, even if it's just maybe one thing that you can pay closer attention to when it comes to those endocrine disruptors, like maybe it's just not doing relaxers anymore, and or maybe it's using glass Tupperware instead of plastic
Right.
Tupperware when you're
Right.
taking your lunch to work. Yeah, you never know, like one or two things for your whole family, that is,
Yes. And
especially
that's
if
one thing I did.
yeah, me too. I do the
Yeah.
glass Tupperware. I don't heat up the food in the glass Tupperware in the plastic Tupperware anymore,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, why not?
Yes,
If
exactly.
there's research to show that, these
Why
things
not make
can
that one
necessarily,
change?
why not just make the one change? Yeah.
Yes, yes. And even my filter, my water filter container is glass also.
Hmm.
Now,
Hmm.
granted, the entire filter is not glass, which is a whole other conversation. Like, why
And that's
isn't the
okay.
actual, but but at least where
Right?
the water, though going through the filter itself is
Yeah,
plastic, but at least it's
right.
sitting in glass and it's not
Exactly.
absorbing uh,
Exactly.
the
Exactly.
plastic all the time. But also another change. So I changed my Tupperware to glass as well. And
Hmm.
also if I order out or take home or bring home food from like a restaurant, if I
Hmm.
happen to ever go out,
Yeah.
I'm quicker to switch it over into my glass container. So I take it
Yes.
out of the restaurant's containers because
Yes.
even though the environmentally conscious containers that they have and that
Hmm.
filming on the inside that they put to prevent the leaking through of wetter products
Right.
also has endocrine
Yeah.
disruptors in it.
Yeah. Right.
So making
Right.
that difference. And also, in our communities, we used to be, hopefully this is shifting, but we used to be so prone to signal the change into womanhood by starting to use our relaxers, right? So the girl gets
Yeah.
her cycle and then it becomes this, ritual passage of womanhood. Now you
Right.
can get your hair pressed. Oh no, we need
Yeah.
to rethink
Yeah.
permed, I should say. Now you can
Yeah.
get your hair permed. Now we
Right.
need to really rethink all of these rituals that we somehow adopted for
Somehow. Yeah.
reasons that are societal and not really
Hmm.
innate to us. That is not our culture. Our
Exactly.
culture is very much promoting and loving the beauty of our natural appearance.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
shifting back to that and having these conversations with our adolescent girls is really important because this is life-saving. Literally, this
Absolutely.
is
Yeah.
life-saving.
And I'm all for, of course you want to change up your hairstyle. Like, as much as we are for
Right,
self-love and loving yourself in your natural state, like myself today, and I love my braids, I love my twists, I love my natural styles. But myself today, I have, my little blowout going on, but I've stopped doing relaxers for years. I can't even count how many years it's been. So, just whoever might be watching, there are ways for you to switch your style up, but just try to
right,
stay away from the chemicals as much as possible, especially those chemicals that are seeping into your scalp.
right.
That's the
As
most
our skin is
important.
our largest organ,
Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
absorbent, right?
Exactly.
The
Exactly.
the other thing that I thought about, Shannon, when I considered our adolescent girls is the fact that menstrual disorders exist, right? And it can be debilitating even for adults. Well, actually, is debilitating for
Mm-hmm.
adults who are
Mm-hmm.
experiencing it. So could you
Mm-hmm.
imagine having things like menstrual pain, menstrual cramping, and really having to go to school and be productive in school when you're in pain, or having a
Yeah.
heavy menstrual flow? Because those first couple of years where it's irregular, it can sometimes be a heavy flow as well.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
even what do you think about the psychological aspect of having to deal with menstrual disorders as an
Yeah,
adolescent?
as an adolescent, it kind of breaks my heart a little bit because, kids should just be able
Be
to
able to
be
be kids.
children. Yeah, just be kids, just be carefree. You have your good and your bad days just like anything else, but to have something, a chronic condition at the moment that is just, hindering your quality of life, to me it's just really sad.
It is.
It is. That's the first thing that just comes to me is the heartbreak of it all, because you just
Yeah.
want them to be able to be a kid.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. They're dealing with too many adult issues,
Yeah.
unfortunately, as a result of the decisions adults made on this environment in the earth. But one of the things that is really concerning is just how it impacts productivity. So we know
Hmm.
that pain, or menstrual related pain, as well as a heavy flow or abnormal bleeding, impacts a woman's productivity at work. And it impacts
Absolutely.
equally a girl's productivity at school. Yet
Yeah.
we have the same expectations that they are supposed to excel in school, regardless of how they're in pain. But also we're finding that we're really underestimating the iron deficiency that
Hmm.
girls are, walking around with, because
Yeah.
people, for example, are still focused on the hemoglobin but not really looking at their iron studies to see, oh, the hemoglobin may be fine, but she still may
Hmm.
have an iron deficiency. And that
Right.
iron deficiency, man, if you can imagine
Oh yeah.
those who have experienced anemia or any type of
Yeah.
iron deficiency related issues, you're
Yeah. Your
exhausted.
energy is wiped out. Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Your
Yeah.
body's
Yeah.
like, I can't breathe.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And so to, just raising awareness of really being able to properly evaluate girls
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
optimizing their nutrition when they
Yes.
are starting to have, look at me. Aren't you proud of me bringing this up?
I am. I am. I love the new when we get into the nutrition lanes, I love it. Yes.
Yes, but
Yeah.
yeah, what would you say to that? Just really the
Yeah.
importance of that.
I'm glad that you brought the diet up because I feel like this is the one thing we didn't quite touch on yet. So poor diet. Poor diet is also a contributor, possibly, to early periods in girls. So, if you have lower nutrients in your diet, those girls tend to enter puberty earlier. Also, interestingly, girls who have a higher animal protein intake, that has also been linked to earlier starts of their period as well. Fast food, of course, that's no surprise there. And also dairy, that all of those can be disruptive to normal physical development. And the endocrine disruptive chemicals are actually stored in animal tissue, which is a huge, huge factor as well as to why that connection to higher animal protein intake is linked to earlier start of your
Y'all better
period.
stop putting those
Yeah,
antibiotics in those
yeah,
cows.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's not, I hate to compare the Caribbean all the time, but
Mhm.
it's not the goat or the chicken that was on the farm, at our
Right.
grandmother's.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
And literally,
and
my
we can
great,
eat
well,
that every
technically, my great
day.
grandmother had
That's why I
eggs.
brought it up. That's why I brought it up because I
Right.
know you're Caribbean too. So
Right.
we're not talking about those animals. We're talking about the more westernized diet, type of animal meat. It's different.
Rest. They're fed unhealthy diets
Yes.
Also just the health of the soil itself and what's
Hmm.
in the soil, what's coming out of the atmosphere,
Right.
what pesticides are being sprayed on the grassland that they're on, or maybe not even grassland. In
Right.
yes.
Right. Right. Right.
So the
Right.
chronic stress
The
that the
chronic
animals
stress.
experience because of how they're caged, right?
Absolutely.
And so
Yeah.
all of
Those
these things,
hormones are flowing through the animals before they're, before they're slaughtered. So that doesn't go anywhere. It's,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And a
Mhm.
lot of the reasons why we're struggling with so many health related issues. But yeah, and really maximizing the nutrition and eating as clean as possible
Yeah.
is going to have a benefit on the productivity of the girls, making
Right.
sure they're
Right.
getting that iron.
Iron, we have iron supplements, of course, but there are
Mhm.
many ways to get iron in our diet through food. And that's actually the preferred form of getting your nutrients is through your food. So iron isn't found in green leafy vegetables. It's also found in things like oatmeal. There's a number of different food. Yeah, I know
I
you like
love
oat. I
oatmeal.
can tell. Yeah, I can tell. So I'll give you a quick, recipe. And another tip is you want to try your best, if possible, to pair your iron-rich foods with vitamin C. So for better absorption. So
Hmm.
an example of that would be, oatmeal with some sliced strawberries on top. Strawberries are an excellent source of vitamin C. When people think vitamin C, they think orange juice, and
Oranges and
maybe
lemons.
that's it. Yeah, but it's
That's
in
all
some.
we know.
Yeah. Yeah, but strawberries are great. That's a great way to, especially if, maybe yourself, or your child or your girl is suffering, with low iron, you can try, to pair those foods together.
Mhm.
You can also have your green leafy vegetables. You can have some protein on there, of course. With if it's an animal protein, it will have iron. Even though we don't want too much animal protein, but in moderation, you want to balance your meals as much as possible. The orange juice is okay. So you can do the
Uh-huh.
orange juice.
We could do the orange
Not
juice.
saying you can't do the orange juice, but there's a lot of other
Uh,
ways to get your vitamin
or
C. But
squeeze your oranges.
or
Don't even do
squeeze
the
your
juice.
oranges. Yeah. You can have some tangerines, some
Some
mandarin,
clementines.
some
Mm.
clementines. Yeah. But just some quick little
Mix it
tips
up a little
there.
bit. You don't
Mix
have
it
to feel
up.
like you have one consistent. Okay, spinach,
Yes.
iron,
Iron.
oxalate. Help
Yes.
us understand.
Yes.
Is Popeye telling us the truth or has he been lying to us this entire time?
So spinach is great, but you know what really is my favorite? Collard greens.
Oh, say
Collards are
less.
they are really an underestimated and unrepresented powerhouse of nutrients. It's rich in iron, it's rich in calcium. It has so many different nutrients in there. The spinach is great. I'm not knocking the spinach, but if you want to really go up a step above that, so get you some collard greens every now and then. They're
I
really
love
good.
it.
Me
I
too.
mean, and we're not talking about the slaughtered collard greens and ham hocks.
Right. That is
Also,
hilarious.
like,
Right.
say less. Bring on the collard greens every
Right. With
Sunday.
all the fat back in it, right?
Right. That's right.
Exactly.
Right. But
Yeah.
Shannon, you know what I think should be hyped up? I
What
think
do
what
you
should be
think?
hyped up is a female tax. Yes, I do. Now, some
Okay.
come at me at this, but let me explain. When
Mm-hmm.
you think of the cost
Mm-hmm.
of dealing with your menstrual cycle, I don't care what you use, whether you're a cup user, a pad user, a tampon user, every year the average woman is spending 120 to $300 extra, right?
Yeah.
And that's on the lower end.
Right.
Y'all be getting a little fancy with it with the menstrual panties and stuff, right?
Right.
But
Right.
but the point is that especially if you have a heavy menstrual cycle or if you're being treated for menstrual related pain, there's a
Mm-hmm.
cost to our menstrual cycle and it's really
Mm-hmm.
expensive. So if you
Mm-hmm.
consider that over the reproductive years of a woman and add that up, You're talking about
Mm-hmm.
thousands of dollars over a woman's lifespan is spent on menstrual related products, from your Midols to your hygiene products
Yeah,
to all sorts of things that
yeah,
we use around our menstrual cycle time. It's really expensive. And at the same
it is.
time, we're more likely to be underpaid compared to a man. Help
Yeah,
me understand that. So I think
yeah.
that every employer should offer us
Women's
a
tax.
woman tax.
That is a wonderful idea. Sign me up. I will sign the petition for that. Yes, I
Listen,
will sign the
we're working on
petition.
the menstrual packages for employers to provide for menopause, right?
Yeah,
But
right.
I think also for our women who are having to deal with bringing life into this world or not,
Yeah,
but still
yeah.
have to deal with the physiology of it all, there needs to be
Hmm.
a woman tax. I'm
Yeah,
very serious about this
yeah, I can tell. I love the idea. But
because
you know they're
listen,
not going to go for it because
listen,
then it's going to be considered socialism and that's a bad word.
listen, sometimes we make things socialism that is just common sense and
Yeah.
compassion, right?
Yeah.
It is okay to acknowledge the fact that women bring life into this world. Y'all happy to be here? Ain't y'all happy to be here?
Right.
Okay, you could
Right.
not be here without a woman.
Right. Right.
You could
Right.
not be here without a woman going through her cycle
Right.
in order to bring each and every one of us here, right?
Right. You're actually showing receipts. It's not compassion, actually. We're really paying
We're paying
more.
more.
We're you have the receipts. Yeah.
Yes,
So we need to be compensated,
yes,
therefore, because we have the receipts of what we've
yes.
had to pay for that, guys are not paying for. So that is true.
Exactly.
That's true.
It can cost anywhere from 4,000 plus dollars to 11,000 plus dollars. That is a
Oh my
lot of
goodness.
money.
That's a lot of money.
And
Yeah.
that is just the hygiene products. That's just your tampons, your menstrual cups, your
Right.
panty, your pads. I'm not even
Right.
talking about the Midols, the supplements that people take to endure
Right.
and all that. If I add that all up,
Right. The
y'all
missed
owe us
days
a
from
whole lot
work.
of money.
The missed days from work.
The missed days from work, and
Right.
that has been well documented that
Mm-hmm.
menstrual
Mm-hmm.
disorders does lead to a decrease in productivity, not in the
Yeah.
woman's ability, but just
Right.
in her need, her medical need
Which
to
you
be able
can
to
see.
deal
Yeah.
with her menstrual disorder. It's very
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. You can be willing, but not able. It,
I mean,
you,
honestly, really
yeah.
though, they do the opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
They dock us for our
Yeah.
pay. They don't pay us
Yes.
equally.
Yes.
So how about you at least pay us equally to compensate for the cost of bringing y'all here? But
Correct.
if you're gonna dock us, that means in some way you're considering the fact that we're women.
Right. Exactly.
And what you should
Exactly.
be considering is paying us extra, not less,
Right.
given the fact that we have to deal with a menstrual cycle.
Exactly. I'm with it. I'm
It's
for it.
logical, it's fair, it's compassionate,
It is. Yeah.
and it's necessary.
It's
It's
necessary. And we have
because
receipts.
yes, and we have receipts. And because there's such a thing
Yeah.
also, to your point, Shannon, there's such a thing as period poverty. There
Mm-hmm.
are communities that cannot afford menstrual products.
Yeah.
That's a real situation.
Yeah, it
And
is.
so if we compensate adequately financially,
Mm-hmm.
we wouldn't have communities that are experiencing period poverty.
Right. Right.
That's the
Yeah.
least we can do. The
The
absolute
least.
least. That's
The
the bare
absolute
minimum.
least. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And period poverty impacts our communities more disproportionately.
Mm.
Black girls, Latino girls are more likely to experience period poverty.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and there are organizations that are doing the great work of trying to fill in the gap and trying to support communities where girls just don't even have enough money to pay for a pad.
Yeah.
That's a sad day.
I think it's pretty pathetic, really.
It
It's
is.
pretty pathetic that a biological happening, something biological is happening with a human being, and it's a need, it's not a want.
Right.
So that's pretty pathetic. I
And
agree.
I'm gonna hold schools to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
the least schools can do is make sure that there is free access. Not that I have to go to the nurse, so every time I have my period, the nurse got to know
Right.
I'm on my period,
Right.
but just make available pads in the bathroom for girls.
Yes. Yeah, that's such a valid point, and it's such a nuance, especially as a young person slash child. The simple act of having to go and ask for it can cause and bubble up so much trepidation. You know, as adults, we look at it like, oh, you're being silly. That's their world, you know? And so it can cause unnecessary anxiety, even panic, you know, because again, they're in a certain bubble of living. You know, things are
Right,
magnified they're like we were
right,
saying in the beginning, they're actually still children who
right,
happen to be on their period, you know?
right.
So um they can be thinking about this thing for hours or even the whole entire school day, um,
Listen,
unnecessarily.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
Listen,
so I
Shannon, there
agree they
are,
should be in the restrooms.
yeah, Shannon,
Hmm.
there are women who are uncomfortable asking other
True.
women
This is
for,
true. This is
yes.
absolutely true. Yeah.
No
Hmm.
one wants anybody to know that they're on their
No one
cycle.
wants to know. Yeah.
It's the biggest kept secret for the entire lifetime of a
Yeah.
woman.
Yeah.
The goal is that no one should be able to tell for a number of reasons, because there are
Yeah.
pressures associated. Women don't want to feel like they're underproducing or be stereotyped about
Mm,
their commentary because it's always labeled as you're being emotional. She must be on her period.
true.
That's the
You
negative
don't want to be
connotation of it all.
judged. Yeah, that is true.
You don't want
Yeah.
to be judged for being on your
Hmm.
cycle. You don't want to be misunderstood. You want to be able to express yourself and not be labeled as being emotional because someone can't take your commentary,
Right. Right.
right? Period poverty affects people in so many different circumstances, even in natural disasters. Like, people don't really think about how vulnerable women feel when it comes to their cycles and
Hmm.
going through a natural disaster, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I remember Puerto Rico, Hurricane Maria, back a few years ago, seeing images on the television of women standing in line waiting to get sanitary pads. And, you know, they just didn't have it. It's one of those items that
Wow.
you take for granted, you know,
Mm-hmm.
here, you know, we have it, you know, piles and piles where we are when we go to the stores and to the pharmacies. But, you know, in certain places like that where natural disasters happen and yeah, I remember
Yeah.
them wait the lines of the women waiting to
That's a
get their
great point.
sanitary
That's a
things.
great point. And it reminds us to be mindful of those particular needs when these natural disasters occur, whether it's the flooding in Texas, the fires in California,
Hmm.
or the earthquakes in the Caribbean, whether it's Beryl, Melissa, Maria, to be mindful of the need of these hygiene products. Because, as we mentioned, it's hard for women to ask for these things, but you
Hmm.
need it.
You need it. Yeah.
And if you have a heavy flow,
Yeah. What are you
you
gonna do?
absolutely need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay? So thank you for bringing our consciousness to that point. I'm so glad we're having these conversations, Shannon. I really
Yeah.
am,
So am
because
I.
it's
These
so
are conversations I
necessary.
feel like they just don't happen. The conversations just don't happen around these
It
topics.
doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
I want us to freely talk about periods.
Hmm.
Really talk about
Yeah.
the gift that made sure that all of us made it here. I really
Right.
do. I want to liberate women to talk about their periods freely, not hide that they're
Hmm.
on their period, and then change
Hmm.
the attitude of society that women can be assertive and not
Hmm.
be on their period.
Right.
Like,
Right. Exactly.
assertion and your cycle are not
Are
linked.
not exactly. Hmm. Hmm.
Right. So anyway, Shannon, if they wanted to have more
Yeah.
conversations, because we need to find out what else we need to be eating to increase our
Yes.
nutrition, to improve our nutrients, what we need to avoid in our foods, what
Hmm.
type of foods to avoid, where we can
Yes.
find our iron, what foods we should be eating,
Absolutely.
how to combine.
Yeah.
How are we going to be able to find you, Shannon?
Well, you all can find me. The best way is my website. It's www.nutrish.net. I do take health insurance in New York State. If you're not in New York State, that's okay too. We do accept payment plans for out-of-pocket payment. Virtual visits are an option, or in person if you're in certain parts of New York. So yes, the website, social media, of course. I know social media is big. So Instagram, Facebook. You can find me also on YouTube. And that's going to be nutrished.net. Nutrished is NUTRISHED, dot nutrition, excuse me. That is
Got
the
it. And which one
handle.
is that one? The last one that you gave was which site?
So nutrished.net is the website,
Uh-huh.
and then nutrition is social media.
Got it. Got it. So
Yes,
y'all make
yes,
sure y'all hit her up because I
yeah.
need to find out more about where I'm gonna get these iron foods from.
That is too funny. Yes.
Okay, which ground
Mm-hmm.
provision I should be eating
Mm-hmm.
because I
Mm-hmm.
love myself. It's about to be the holidays. I'm about to have myself
Yes. Some
some
yams.
codfish.
Yes.
I need to target
Mm-hmm.
my nutrition adequately.
That's
Right.
right. You're doing a wonderful job, Dr. Tasker. You
I
need to
mean,
stop it. I
let
know
me
you pay attention to your
let
diet.
me
Come
ask you a
on.
question. Are iron are plantains filled with iron?
Plant
Please say
because
yes.
you love your plantain, don't you? You love yes, you love you some plantain.
Yes, I do.
Yes, so do I. I love plantain. Well, they're rich, they're chock full of nutrients. So any root vegetable is going to have your vitamins, your minerals, not just iron, it's going to have vitamins and minerals that your body needs. So I love a good root vegetable. I love a good tuber,
Listen,
whether it's yucca, malanga,
listen.
I love it all. You throw them in some soup or you put it with your little stew, and your vegetable. I love
Or you
that.
have yourself a red snapper that's steamed
Your
or escovitch.
oh
Listen,
yes, oh yes, oh yes, that red snapper. Oh yes.
listen. Say less. Say less. She has
Hmm.
given me permission to
That's right.
indulge.
Absolutely. That's the best. That is the best indulgence. Healthy and delicious. You can't go wrong there.
Listen, say less. My holiday is about to be good.
That's
And on
right.
that note, make sure y'all enjoy your holidays as well. I am Dr. T, the hand behind the handle of Healthy Bump Club, right here on YouTube and Healthy Bump Club on Instagram. We thank you guys for joining us. We hope that we also watered your taste buds. As you see, my taste buds are watering. But water your taste buds, not just with food, but with information. Make sure
Mhm.
you're out there having conversations freely about your cycle, your reproductive process, so that we can free our girls and free our
Mhm.
women and get these societal perspectives changed. And we hope to see you guys when the next episode and drop us a comments.
All right.
This is Dr. T, just a friendly reminder. Don't forget to comment, like, and share. And go ahead, why not? Click that subscribe button. Help us to get to the next 1,000 subscribers. We thank you guys for supporting.